Good morning, everyone. So we extend a special welcome today to all of the members of our OCIA team, all of our catechumens and candidates who've been preparing to be welcomed fully into the church. In a special way, our catechumens that we have today, we have Parish, we have John, we have Anna, who have been studying as a group along with their fellow candidates. They have been preparing over the last few months to be fully welcomed into the Catholic Church, and perhaps most importantly, they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. You have no idea because you have no idea what it is to have a relationship with Christ over a lifetime and to take advantage of that. They have had to make a decision about whether to come toward the light, to the light of Christ, or to remain back far away from it. They've had a decision to make. Most of you and I have not had the decision to make, at least not the initial one. Because for most of us who were baptized as infants, that decision was made by our parents. It was made by the community, who brought us forth to the light, gave us to the light in order to bring us close to Christ. Now, every day thereafter, we have been charged to make that decision, to come to Christ who is the light. So we just heard in our gospel today, it said, "This is the verdict, that the light came into the world, but people preferred darkness to light, because their works were evil." What is the light? The light is none other than Jesus, the one who in John 8 says, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me does not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." It's this decision, it's a fork in the road that these catechumens and candidates have had to make. Do I want to enter deeper into that relationship with Christ? You and I are also confronted with that too. I want to share this word that is interesting that's included in the gospel. This is the verdict. What does verdict mean? So the Greek word for verdict that is used in the gospel today is crisis. Normally, you and I, when we hear the word crisis, we think of something bad, but it's not what it means. It means that you have a decision. A crisis means a turning point. It's a fork in the road. And it's a decisive point where you have to either decide to go right or go left, to go one way or the other. In this case, to go to the light or go into the darkness. That's the crisis. That's the crisis that they are facing, and that's the crisis that is confronting you and me today too. For all of us who were baptized, we were given that light to begin with, but we can lose it. We can run far away from the light, which is what we do whenever we sin. But then we can come right back to the light. And that's what Jesus is inviting you to today. So our catechumens in just a few moments are going to be going through what is called one of the scrutinies, where we ask God to take out of them anything that is not of God, anything that is not holy, and anything that would prevent them from receiving Christ into their heart. We're going to be praying over them. We did the first one last week. This is the second one, and then next week we do the third one, to prepare them for when they're fully welcomed into the church, that the light of Christ can fill their hearts. The light of Jesus wants to come in and inflame us. Because has anyone here ever been exposed for something that you've done? It could be as small as who took a bite out of dessert before dinner time. Happened a lot in my house growing up. Or it could be as serious as finding out something very troubling about your spouse that you didn't know before. Either way, your first instinct is to hide it. Hope no one finds out. Go into the darker places without bringing anything to the light. But the love of Jesus comes and consumes our sinfulness. The radiance of God's grace overwhelms our weakness, and God's perfection comes and outshines our imperfection. That is what the light of Christ is like. Christ, our light, comes in and shines on the darkest places of your life and mine. So come to the light. All of us who have been baptized and initiated into this Christian faith have been given this pledge of eternal redemption from Christ. And it demands that you and I come toward the light. Anytime we drift into the darkness, we come back to the light. That's why one of the ways that we come back to the light is through the sacrament of confession. So in this Lent, we've been offering more times for confession. We have some more coming this Tuesday. When you're walking in the light, it means that now you see clearly. Because if you're in a pitch black room and let's say you have a big gash in your arm or a wound, you may feel it, but are you going to see it? No, you're not going to see it. When you come into the light, you're more likely to see what's wrong with you. When you and I are in darkness, of course we don't have any sins. That's why it's so easy for us to say, I don't have any sins. Well, because if you're in darkness, you don't see what's wrong with you. But when you come to the light, Christ shines on it, brings it into the light, and allows you to humbly confess to the Lord, this is where I need you, God, in my life. The fathers of the church, who were those who wrote in the early days of Christianity, they called baptism the Enlightenment. Long before that word became popular, they called it the Enlightenment because that's where Christ's light shines upon you. So back to our catechumens. You guys are going to be preparing for this enlightenment very intensively these next few weeks, where your desire to be enlightened by Christ will come to full fruition. You are now coming to the light to prepare for your sacraments. For the rest of us who have already been initiated into that light, whenever we're in the darkness, will we do the same? Let's come right back to the light and allow Christ to outshine everything bad within us. Amen.